Do you journal or have you ever considered journaling? There are tons of reasons to do it if you're an INFJ. On today's show, we'll take a look at 7 of the best. Stick around. I've journaled off and on for a number of years, but it wasn't until the last couple that I journaled consistently. And my journaling looks different than what you probably picture when you hear the word journaling. When you think of journaling, you might think of keeping a daily log of the activities that you did in a day, or just a diary of your thoughts. And that's true sometimes for me and for a lot of other INFJs. But in conversation with some creative INFJs recently, and just in reflecting on some more prominent INFJs that I've observed, I've noticed that this is a really important part of their life and a super helpful habit. So today I'd like to look at several INFJs, and I'll just mention a couple of them. One of them is a pastor that I appreciate, and he said that he has to do this to work out his ideas before he writes a book. And he's written a ton of books, but anytime he's going to get his thoughts together and organize them, he journals. And he does it on a regular basis just as a method of processing all the ideas that are in his mind and counseling himself. Michael Hyatt has written several posts and recorded several podcasts on the topic, and he is definitely a proponent of journaling, I think, for the same reasons. Another one that comes to mind, another person I should say, is Jonathan Milligan, and he does it not so much to reflect on feelings and emotions, although I'm sure that happens as well, but more to organize his ideas. In a recent conversation with my co-host, Jen Graneman, on the Introvert podcast, and our guest, Andy Moore, we were talking about the value of journaling. Andy, who I co-hosted the Quiet Overflow Summit with, was pointing out that he journals each and every day, or at least on a fairly regular basis, to fuel his creativity and to help work through ideas. And then Jen chimed in to point out that journaling is powerful because it helps introverts get the deep ideas that are in their mind that might be difficult to spit out or to work with if just in conversation. We as introverts have a faster, better connection when we're writing to the ideas in our mind. So it's pretty powerful to sit down and put your thoughts out on paper. So all that said, let's look at 7 reasons why you as an INFJ should consider journaling. Number 1, and perhaps the most important on several levels, is just to process ideas. We as INFJs lead with a dominant function known as introverted intuition, and it's complex. It is pattern oriented, and it sees multiple points all at one time, and it makes connections between those things. It's difficult a lot of times to work with all the ideas that swirl in your mind at once. You just can't keep it all in mind. And this is an idea that I'm getting from that pastor that I mentioned earlier. He puts his ideas down in a journal, or whenever he's working with a book, he has to put it down on paper and just organize them all, because he can't think through all the different perspectives and facets and thoughts at one time unless he gets it down on paper and can work it through. For more linear thinkers, while it can still be helpful to work out ideas in a journal, it might be easier just to speak what they're thinking. But for us, it's really important that we have some sort of paper or some kind of computer or tablet or something to work out our ideas on. Some people put it on a whiteboard, some people put it on a wall, some people put it on a journal or a scrap piece of paper. A lot of people even use a napkin. Just getting your ideas down and working with them is huge for making the progress you want and just making sense of your ideas, working them out in a hierarchy or organizing them in a way that makes sense. And a journal and doing some journaling on a regular basis can be super helpful in processing what you're thinking and what you're learning and making the creative ideas make a whole lot more sense. Number 2, another huge reason why you need to journal or should consider journaling is because you process by getting your ideas out there and working them through. You're an extroverted feeler. That's your auxiliary function, your second function. And as such, you do best when you can share what you're processing by talking to someone you really trust, or by putting it down on paper and working it through that way. It may even help you just to think and pray and go for a walk, but there are added elements of writing things down. For one, you can trace your ideas from another day and connect them to what you're writing down on today, for example, or you can look for patterns over time. You can also work with more ideas all at once, connecting back to the first reason, but just getting your thoughts down on paper can help you figure out which feelings are yours and what emotions you're picking up from other people, and dive down into the source regarding why you feel the way you feel. So journaling is powerful when you're trying to figure out what emotions you're wrestling with and why you're wrestling with them. And I mentioned that sometimes you pick out the emotions of others. As someone who uses introverted intuition and extroverted feeling together, it's easy for you to sense what other people are feeling. And it's easy for you also to pick up the emotions of others, even if sometimes you don't really want to. So when you're dealing with a lot of baggage or maybe some extra feelings that you didn't have earlier in the day, it can help you sort through them when you write it down on paper and journal them. Third, journaling helps you reflect and grow. One of the best pieces of advice I got a couple of years ago was to write down what you learn each day, or to write down your ideas each day. I got it from a personal growth guru. And while I don't necessarily do that all the time, I still really enjoy journaling and capturing my ideas on paper. I have a number of cheap journals that I picked up at Walmart at the start of the school year because they're like a quarter at that time of year, 50 cents or something. But I love these things because I can just jot down my notes that I'm learning from books or that I've gotten from podcasts or from conversations or from videos I've watched or just from music I've listened to or, other people that I've tuned into when they're having a conversation or people watching I've done. Wherever I'm getting ideas, it's fun to capture it in the journal and then to work it out over time. And doing so helps me remember much more, even if I never go back and look at that journal, which, most of the time I actually don't go back and review what I've written in the past. It's just mainly that day. It helps me to encapsulate and capture in my mind what I learned. And there's something about writing by hand or even typing it, but I'd say writing by hand in particular. There's a lot of research to show that handwriting helps move ideas into your long-term memory. It helps them get encoded there so that you can hold on to those ideas for a longer period of time. Number 4, journaling helps you make connections. I've already alluded to this idea, but I want to drill into it a bit further. When you put your ideas down on paper, instead of trying to juggle them all in your head, you see possibilities that you wouldn't see otherwise. Now, this type of journaling may not be writing out a paragraph or necessarily a bullet list, but if you've ever mind mapped or tried to connect your ideas on paper, I'm thinking a schemata or I'm thinking making some kind of diagram that represents your ideas. When you do this kind of journaling, the creative possibilities and the connections and explanations and the depth of understanding, the possibilities for all that sort of thing are much greater than if you, again, just tried to wrestle with the ideas in your head. Putting it in a journal can help you work it out in amazing ways. This idea might also be implicit in some of the other points I've already made, but when you journal, you get clarity that you might not get any other way. It's amazing how sorting through what can feel like a whirlwind of ideas and emotions and thoughts that are hitting you all at once can help you find the theme or the big idea or help you determine what your priority is. Just taking some time to work through the storm and think about what's going on and then to organize can really help you move ahead and get unstuck when you're feeling stuck. Speaking of clarity, journals can be awesome for planning. Now, I know that planners are great. I use them in college and I still use Google Calendar quite a bit, and I've used some other planners that I find helpful. I mean, every day when I teach, I plan in an Excel document, not an Excel, but a Google Sheet. Plans are great, but there's something about the boundless freedom of being able to set up your plan however you want in a journal and to be able to experiment with new ways of organizing ideas. Because each day brings its own challenge, and each time in your life, each circumstance that you find yourself in, the things you're going to be thinking through and the challenges that you're going to be facing are going to require different strategies for working through them. So a journal is just an opportunity to work through those ideas however you want to set it up. And you can use your awesome creative problem solving INFJ skills to get through that challenge. And journaling is a fantastic way to do that. You can set up a chart or a hierarchy, or you can draw diagrams, or you can make pictures. You can just write it all out, whatever it takes to make a plan to move ahead. And there's just a great benefit that comes from getting all the ideas that are in your head down on paper and then organizing them. Like, for instance, if you feel like you're overwhelmed with all the responsibilities facing you, when you capture it on paper, you can start to decide what needs to be done first, what can wait, and what should I plan on getting ready to do in the future, just to do it really simply for you right now. Obviously, it's more complex than that a lot of times, but working through a system like Getting Things Done by David Allen and applying that to whatever problems you're facing and then organizing that in a way that works for you can be super helpful. And then again, maybe you're thinking about Stephen Covey's priority matrix, which I've mentioned before in previous shows. Just working things out. Journaling can be a great way to sort through those ideas when you need to do it right in the minute. Brain dump to get that clarity to make a plan that's going to help you move forward. Finally, journaling is a fantastic opportunity for gratitude, and we all need more gratitude in our lives. Gratitude helps put things in perspective and helps you really appreciate what you have and give thanks to the one who's given it to you. At least that's the way I tend to approach it. But I know that when I take time to give thanks for all the things that I have had the opportunity to do and that have been provided for me, I have a much better mindset moving ahead. And again, there's more research to show that grateful people tend to be more productive and live happier or more joyful lives. So taking some time to write down what you're thankful for each day, or just to go back through your journal and look at what you've come through, what you've been brought through, and how you've grown through those circumstances, how those circumstances and challenges have changed you and transformed you into a better person, can bring you a lot of joy and then can enable you to help a lot of other people, which is something I know that you as an INFJ, or at least a lot of INFJs, enjoy doing. Now that we've talked a bit about why you should journal, you might be thinking about journaling, or you might want to try it in a new way. I want to encourage you to be as formal or informal as you need to be. If you want to journal what happens to you each day, that can be awesome. I had an ESTJ friend in middle school who captured all that happened to him, and we really enjoyed looking back through his journal. It was hysterical. But you can also be really informal. Just capture your ideas and throw down what's on your mind. I've done that for a number of years, especially when I'm under a lot of pressure. It's like personal counseling, and I'd highly recommend it. It's a great way to work through your thoughts. So do whatever works for you. And don't feel like you have to journal for like 15 to 30 minutes. I mean, certainly you can do that, but I feel that if you aim for a smaller amount of time, you'll do it more consistently, and then you'll feel free to spend more time when you have the time. But consistency is big, and keeping with it. So you can journal on a tablet, you can journal on a computer. Honestly, a lot of the journaling that I've done over the years has been in Evernote, just because I can keep with it. I'm faster. It's easier to get all my ideas down quickly and to remember them that way. But I've also taken a lot of notes in one of these things that I mentioned earlier. So just a cheap journal like that, it's a great way to capture thoughts. It's just a little harder to search later, but you can come up with your own organizational system, which will probably charge you up like it does me if you're a type of person that enjoys organizing things. There is a way to fuse the digital and the handwriting together so that you can search back through your notes. I recently tried out the Neo Smart Pen, which is one of those pens where you take the notes with handwriting, but then afterwards you just connect your pen via a USB mini to USB cable to your computer, and then you can take all your notes and transfer them to a PDF, and it works with your smartphone too. So it can be a really cool way to do it. I like this pen. It was helpful, but personally I found that my notes were a little bit iffy. So I think I'm going to keep looking for perhaps a better pen, one that's a little clearer. Maybe it was just me, because you have to use a special note paper. So I think I will probably, if I'm going to test the pen in the future, get the Moleskine notebook that goes with it, because I think it would be a little easier to actually use the pen. But it's a cool idea if you want the best of both worlds. But the bottom line is, choose something that works for you and give it a go. And if it's writing on a computer for a minute or two each day, I think it's still a really valuable process. Or if it's just dumping your ideas on a napkin when you need to, that's good too. But I encourage you to journal. Would you like to learn more about your INFJ personality? I'd love to give you a free copy of my book, The INFJ Personality Guide. In it, you'll learn about the mindsets and motivations that cause you to do what you do, as well as some common INFJ challenges and the reasons why those are challenges, as well as solutions to overcome them. Ultimately, I want you to understand that you're not messed up or broken, but just different, and your differences, skills, and gifts are valuable in the world. You can get the book one of two ways. First, consider texting the letters INFJ to the number 444999. Or you can visit ispeakpeople.com/INFJ-personality-guide. You'll be able to find that link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for watching this video. I hope that it served you, and I'd love to hear about the ways that you process your thoughts and feelings, either via journaling or some other method. I think there's a lot that we can learn from each other. If this is your first time watching a video, then I'd encourage you to subscribe, because there will be more content coming out on a regular basis. So I'd love for you to be a part of this community. And if you already are, thank you so much. You encourage me and I learn a lot from you. I'm looking forward to connecting with you on the next show.